And hello and welcome back to Open. I'm your host, Bob Lee. Surviving 20 years in an abusive relationship, Ivette Attaud did not allow her situation to get the best of her. Instead, she rose above, using her experience to help others in a similar situation, educating and writing along the way. We welcome you to the show, Ivette.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. Thank you for having me.
20 years in an abusive relationship, that's a long time.
Well, I survived. I've been a survivor for 20 years. This relationship happened when I was a teen. It started as a teenager.
Yeah.
So it went from a teen dating relationship into an abusive marriage.
Yeah. What makes a person stay so long?
There's a few things that factor into it. It could be religion. Religious beliefs that where the woman is supposed to be subservient to the husband. So there's some religious beliefs that factor into it, as well as maybe how that person was raised. I was raised by a Southern mother. Women are taught to do certain things, men are taught to do certain things. So it's a combination of that, and plus not knowing, not having anyone to explain that to me. And to tell a teenager, you can't date him because I don't like him, isn't good enough.
So your heart was in it, though. I mean, you loved the person,
I
in the beginning at least.
I love the person as much as a teenager could understand what love is about.
Yes.
And without having that outside influence to say, hey, you know, this is not healthy, what he's doing is not healthy, I married my abuser.
Yeah. Well, if you don't mind me asking, what type of abuse was it?
The abuse was physical. It was violent, you know, very violent relationship. There was emotional abuse, financial abuse, spiritual abuse. My situation covered the range of abuses, some that are more common than others.
Give us some examples of the financial abuse.
The financial abuse, I'd say, was when he wanted to get a joint credit card with me, and he asked me to fill out the credit card application, and he would fill out his part later and mail it off. So what he ended up doing was switching the information, forging my signature, and I didn't realize this until after I left, that I was the owner on the account.
Wow.
So that's a prime example of financial abuse, or making me pay for bills, you know, pay for bills with a little bit of money that I had, or trying to take my money, saying, oh, this bill needs to be paid, that bill needs to be paid, now you're working, so here. So, you know, those are some prime examples of the financial abuse. The spiritual abuse, I was raised as a Jehovah's Witness, and basically I was told to turn the other cheek.
Go with the flow.
Go with the flow, and I was even told that my daughter's death was a punishment for my sins. So that's a prime example of spiritual abuse as well.
Yeah. Did your daughter's death have anything to do with the abuse?
Yes, it did. When I was 6.5 months pregnant with twins, and on a side note, multiple pregnancies is definitely a tactic that an abuser uses to keep the woman down, to keep the survivor down. So 6 weeks after I had my first child, I went back to the doctor and I was pregnant again with twins.
Wow.
And then he wanted me to have an abortion. And I didn't believe in abortion then. I still don't believe in it. And because I didn't, when I was 6.5 months pregnant with my twins, he assaulted me and tried to throw me down a flight of stairs. That night I went into labor, gave birth to my twins, and one of them passed away the next day.
Wow. Did you reach out to anybody, or was that a turning moment for you?
I told anyone that would listen. I told them, when that particular assault happened, it happened while we lived on Fort Bragg. I called the MPs, the military police. They sent him back home. They sent me back home to him. I spoke to doctors. I told anyone that would listen. And they, at that time, the military had a pretty much hands-off approach to domestic violence. That particular year, I believe, that I was living on Fort Bragg, there were approximately 5 to 6 domestic violence homicides alone just on Fort Bragg, where enlisted members actually killed their wives. So they really had a pretty hands-off approach. There was no one that I could reach out to even after I lost my daughter. They pushed me to press charges, but I had so much going on at the time. I still had another baby in the hospital. I have an infant at home. So I kind of left that in God's hands as far as I just couldn't really deal with the courts on top of that. So, but yeah, the violence did have a severe impact in my life.
How did you begin to turn your life around?
Well, I took I guess at the time that I was going through the abuse, I was home a lot by myself, so I took some of that time to reflect on what I was going through, what kind of future I wanted for myself, and what kind of future I wanted for my daughters. I didn't want my daughters to grow up thinking that was how a man is supposed to treat a woman. I didn't want them to grow up thinking that was acceptable behavior. So I made some plans, some covert plans to leave. I tried to leave before, but I was told that my place was with my husband.
Yeah, wow.
And and this was a family member that said that to me, and 2 weeks...
Well, she didn't know everything that you were going through, though.
She did.
She did?
She did. 2 weeks after I left, she said, you can't stay here, your place is with your husband. 2 weeks later, he broke my shoulder.
Wow.
So when I left the last time, I left for good. And it's a process. It's not, when you leave, it doesn't mean that the abuse automatically stops. There are other factors that come into play. There's stalking, which he came from North Carolina up to New York, and he harassed me.
Fort Bragg.
He came from Fort Bragg, and nobody questioned him. He tried to assault me in my mother's house, and he got a restraining order against me. The judge didn't believe anything I said. There was I had no defense whatsoever. And all of that I put in the book. So it's a process from leaving to dealing with the family court system. And they stayed in our lives, until, well, they have to stay in our lives until my daughters turned 18. I couldn't leave the state of New York with my daughters. I couldn't hide anywhere. I had to always let him know where I lived. So pretty much the family court system put me and my daughters at risk and gave my abuser free access to us.
Wow. Is this happening a lot? I mean, are people really getting away with abuse?
Yes. They definitely are. It's still the statistics state that approximately 32 million Americans are affected by domestic violence. That's 32 million men, women, and children. And domestic violence is still an underreported crime. Nobody wants to really talk about it. The courts aren't exactly fair in how they deal with the abusers. There's not any real justice there.
There's something very, very serious happens. So
it's very prevalent, yes. And just because you don't see it on the news every day doesn't mean that it doesn't happen. And I think that has a lot to do with it. And between that and what we see on TV, it kind of desensitizes you. So when you see something like that, it doesn't have any effect. I wrote that book so that to get people talking, to open up the dialogue a little bit more about domestic violence and abuse.
Here it is, My Life, My Soul, Surviving, Healing, and Thriving After an Abusive Relationship. So you came through a lot, and this is like more or less therapeutic for you, isn't it?
Very. It took me 10 years to write that book. It took me 10 years to finish the first part. There's still 2 more parts coming.
Oh, part 2. And a lot of people need to know about this because there's a lot of domestic violence, a lot of abuse out there, and not only against females, but men also are being abused.
Definitely, definitely. I've never been put it this way, the more I learned about my experience, the more I wrote, the more I learned about myself, the more I came to understand what domestic violence is outside of my own situation. Women are just as abusive as the men. You have men taking their partners to court saying, oh, she's mentally unstable, and then the kids suffer as a result of it. And
it doesn't all have to be a physical abuse.
No. No.
You mentioned financial abuse. What are some of the other abuses that you mentioned?
There's financial abuse, there's spiritual abuse, there's emotional abuse, there's psychological abuse. But those are the main ones. But the one that's more commonly talked about is the physical abuse.
All right, from your experience, we have some people in our audience who may be experiencing the same thing that you went through. What do you tell them? Where do they start? How do they get out of it?
They have to determine what it is that they want out of life. I mean, their lives are in jeopardy. There's also a big difference between victim and survivor. Victims are the ones that have lost their lives to domestic violence, such as my daughter. being seen as a victim while you're in the abusive relationship, it kind of makes them not want to get that help, because nobody wants to admit that they're a victim. Survivor is more empowering. I can tell anyone to just reach out to someone that they trust, talk to them, get it off their chest. Don't carry that around, because and once you take that step, it's a baby step, but those steps get bigger and you're able to take more until you're really out of that relationship.
Because it can be scary for somebody maybe wanting to get out of that relationship, may get a beat down even trying to leave.
Yeah, that's part of trying to get away. Statistics show that the abuse escalates once that survivor leaves. I wrote this book so that the reader can see what my thought process was from a teenager until I became an adult. And I know that it's someone will say, yes, I was thinking like that. That's my thinking. And if she can do it, so can I. I'm not by any stretch of the imagination saying that it's easy, but it can be done, and it is possible.
Yeah.
Once they pull themselves out of that situation, they'll see how good life can really be.
There you go. Okay, where can we get the book?
Right now, the book is going to be released at the end of this month, but right now, readers can reserve their copy on Amazon.com. They can also visit my website to read an excerpt of the book. So, and then they can also get it from MLMS Publishing, which is the company that I started to publish this book.
There you go, Ivette Attaud.
Attaud.
Okay, thanks so much for sharing your story with us, Ivette.
Thank you.
We love you. You can always come back and share more with us, because this is something that really people need to know about. Okay?
Thank you.
My Life, My Soul, right here. It's a novel. Check it out by Ivette Attaud.